welcome to this very special episode of Tea Time today. With me, Chaiti Narula. We're at the Gary Player Signature Golf Course at DLF in Gurgaon. On the show today, I've got a legend joining me. He's an icon. He's an institution in his own right. I'm truly blessed and truly privileged to have Gary Player on Tea Time with me.
On the show this week, we have Gary Player, legendary golfer from South Africa.
Living in South Africa and people targeting me because of South Africa's policy. I didn't invent that policy. This was invented by our government. Sure. And yet they could get to our government through me.
In news, Fred Couples wins Toshiba Classic and John Senden wins Valspur Championship.
So Gary Player, welcome
nice
to Tea
see
Time.
you. Thank
Welcome.
you.
I'm truly blessed.
Oh,
I'm truly
thank you.
privileged to be in your company, and thank you so much for coming on Tea Time. This is the biggest.
Come to India was always a wish of mine.
Sure.
And now to be doing this golf course for DLF is such a thrill. And to come here, and obviously one of the great dreams, having been a professional golfer now for 60 years, I would just love to see India produce a world champion. And with 1.2 or 3 or 4 billion, whatever you have, this can be done.
You know, so let's talk about what it takes to be a champion. I mean, Gary Player today is an institution. Gary Player today is a legend. He's an icon. He's a brand. The man needs no introduction. I mean, what does it take to be a Gary Player? At 29, yes. You won your first Grand Slam.
Well, first of all, that's a very good question, and that's frequently asked. And I don't know what the answer is. I can only tell you that you have an opinion. Some people say it's talent. Some people say it's hard work. Some people say it's application, dedication, whatever you want to say. I say it's a little thing called it. It. And you cannot define it. I call it, whatever your religion is, whatever your God is, we all have our own forms of religion.
Right.
I believe there's only one God in the world. Only one God.
Sure.
I believe that God lends you. I put emphasis on the word lends. He lends you a talent. Either you use it or you don't. And he lent me a talent. And why should a small person like myself travel to America and beat them on their home ground in Australia and Britain and around the world? It's for me to start thinking it's me would be very conceited. So I always say I'm really a nothing. I'm just a servant. And I'm trying to fulfill a job that he's designated to me.
What do you do? What do you really do at this age? I mean, you're so fit.
Well, I go to the gym and I work out. I mean, you see, that's like a plank. You see, I can stand here at my age and chop, move, you see? Yes. I'm like a 20-year-old.
Yes.
And
yes.
I mean, I have the energy of a 20-year-old. I'm building golf courses and representing companies and traveling around the world. I mean, here I got off of 27, well, I went from Johannesburg to Hawaii, 27 hours, Hawaii back to the United States back to here. And I'm here today like I've had no time change. Most people my age are in bed.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
When you're healthy, it makes you happy. The two H's, health and happiness.
What is the ideal diet in Gary Player's life?
Well,
what does he
pretty
eat?
much
What does
vegetarian.
he gets up and what does he do? What does a day in the life of a Gary Player really look like?
Well, pretty much vegetarian. I don't eat much meat.
Is there a conscientious reason why you've stayed away from meat?
If you look at the meat today, most of it's got steroids in it. The chickens have got all the antibiotics in. It's not like when I was a young man. The pigs have got hormones in it, even in the fish.
Yeah.
Think about this. 5 billion people every day, their sewage goes in the ocean. Really, when you look at the foods today, and people eat too much protein. People eat way too much protein.
And that's not good.
And that's not good. And that's not good. And so people are beginning to realize this now. But at schools, I've never been anywhere in the world where I hear schools teaching children how to exercise and how to eat.
Right.
Everything is artificial. We're not living in a natural world anymore. 1 out of every 2 men in the Western world get cancer.
Right.
1 out of every 3 women. In America alone, which are probably the most unhealthy nation in the world, the most prosperous and the most incredible country, but health-wise, the worst. Most people are on pills, most people are obese, so they've got a massive problem.
So what do you really eat? What does your diet really consist
Well,
of?
in the morning I wake up, I usually have all the juices. Cabbage, spinach, broccoli, bit of garlic, bit of onion, all put in a blender.
Okay.
And I drink that.
Okay.
Because that's just the greatest secret for health, I think.
Really?
So I start my day off doing that. Then I have a little bit of oats porridge sometimes with almond milk.
Right.
With almond milk and a little bit of honey.
Right.
A little bit of honey. Then I'll have one piece of really rough brown bread. Now, I can't find good bread in India, and I
Sure.
can't find really good bread in America.
Right.
Germany, South Africa, Australia, you find good brown bread.
Right.
But and then sometimes I'll have a boiled egg, and then a cup of green tea.
Okay.
Cup of green tea. Then for lunch I'll have maybe, because I work very hard on my farm, I'll have spaghetti, and I'll have cayenne pepper on it with turmeric. Very important. When I'm on my farm, I'm asking the men to mix cement, I mix it with them.
Right.
I do carry poles, carry with them. Carry rocks, carry it with them. If you look at my hands and you see all these marks,
Yeah.
this is all from working on my farm.
Oh,
So,
really?
I mean, I work. I get up at 5 o'clock. I start at 6 and I work until 6 with lunch,
Beautiful.
obviously.
Beautiful.
So, and I find I get great productivity if you can work with the people.
All right. So who do you think will win the Grand Slam next, in your opinion? From the new league of golfers that we're seeing today.
I must say the golfer that has really, really impressed me is Jason Day from Australia. Wow, what a golf swing this guy's got. Adam Scott has got a beautiful golf swing. Louis Oosthuizen from South Africa. Charles Schwartzel of the young guys.
What about Rory McIlroy?
Yes, I'm coming to him. Rory McIlroy, tremendous ability. Tremendous ability. And Rory's already won one major, but so is Charles and so is Louis. So there are a lot of guys out there.
We will track down how you grew up, the relationship that you shared with your parents as well, and the ups and downs that you went through as well in South Africa in your early days as well, on the other side of this break. So it's a good time, if with your
Okay.
permission, let's take a quick break right
Okay.
here on Tea Time. Gary and I will see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time, and we're in conversation with the legend, the institution, and the icon himself, Gary Player. So Gary, let's go over your days in South Africa now. You know, you went through a bit of a difficult time back there. I mean, the apartheid was was very conspicuous. There were times when you were playing golf, there were people screeching and screaming, did not allow you to putt. There was crush ice thrown into your eyes.
That's right.
What were those days like, and how did you cope? It must have been one of those very difficult times to deal with.
In 1969 and 1970 to play, living in South Africa and people targeting me because of South Africa's policy. I didn't invent that policy. This was invented by our government.
Sure.
And yet they could get to our government through me. I played in the PGA Championship in 1970, I think it was, or 69, in Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
And I lost the tournament by 1 shot. Now, that's a major championship. That's like a Wimbledon, okay?
Absolutely.
So they threw ice in my eyes. And I'll get to the top of my backswing. They'd throw a telephone books in my back. They screamed on my backswing. I was getting ready to hole an important putt, and balls came running through my leg. They charged me from the greens, just like this mound here. They come running down here. They tore up the greens. And this is what I had to play, and I lost by 1 shot. But I didn't squeal like a baby. I said, listen, this is part of life. Part of life is suffering. One must understand, I tell all my grandchildren, 22 of them, and my 6 children, you are going to suffer in your life whether you like it or not. No man can go through this earth and this life without suffering.
Right.
And the sooner you teach your children that, the better. And that's part of life. So I got over that, fortunately, because what I did was I invited one of the Black Panthers in America, a man called Mr. Williams. I said, Mr. Williams, look, why don't you come to South Africa and judge for yourself? Come and see what I'm doing there. Fortunately, I was sponsoring young black golfers to go overseas, and I was sponsoring golf tournaments, getting businessmen and myself to put up money, and I was taking young black guys to caddy for me in the British Open and things like that. And he came down there and he went back and he said, listen, we mustn't demonstrate against this guy, and they stopped. They've had a confidence, and the difference between confidence and humility is only a fine line. You've got to be confident, but at the same time be humble.
This is something I'm going to learn from you today.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm sure you do that already.
No, not at all.
But you know, we stand here today, and this is a thrill for me, because this where we're standing right now was just bare, flat ground. Everywhere you look here was bare, flat ground. There wasn't a flower, there wasn't a mound, there wasn't a drop of water, there wasn't a flower or anything here. Look at this today. It's like a paradise.
Take me through Gary Player Design. When you came here, you saw this land. What did you really think? What was the whole idea behind making this golf course? And what, in your opinion, is the perfect golf course? Because I know you get a little intimidated by undulating lands and you feel that that's not really ideal for weekend golfers per se. What is that ideal design in your mind when you make a golf course like this?
I think you've got to first of all think of the average person. Now, the average person has to have a golf course that can have fairways that are fairly wide, because they don't hit it very straight, little bigger greens, but to have beauty, because everybody's working so hard in the office and they're under pressure. We live in a world now, there's a lot of stress. So we've got to try and relieve stress. If they come out here and they can be in a place with beauty, they relax. Right. The minute they come in there, we've got to have good service. The people have got to greet you and say, nice to see you, how are you, how is your family? Make people feel happy.
Right.
And at the same time, make them enjoy their day, irrespective of how they play, enjoy their day in paradise.
Right.
And that's important. I think that's the very... But every golf course is different. Now, we've built some golf courses in South Africa, right amongst the wild animals.
Right.
So while you're playing, you see right there the lions or the elephant or the giraffe.
Oh, that's lovely.
And they love it. They love it. And then you go to a place like ex-communist country Bulgaria, and we built a golf course along the cliffs.
Right.
And you see the ocean and these beautiful cliffs. And it's so wonderful for me to see, when I'm dead and gone, millions of people will have played all my golf courses and have given them pleasure.
Now let's talk about your downfalls a little bit. You went through a bit of a tough time earlier in your career as well, but you, I believe, started taking on to pretending like you were Christy O'Connor, and straight after that you went on to win the Masters, and not only the Masters, the British title as well. How did you deal with that? I mean, what do you do when you go through a slump like that? It's a lesson that all of us need to learn.
Well, first of all, we must understand that there are good times and there are bad times in your life. And you have the choice. In fact, somebody said to me the other day, I don't know what the figure would be, but this person said 30% of the world suffers from depression. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it sounds logic to me.
It sounds logical.
Now, the thing is, if you have depression, always just make a comparison of what you have to other people have. And there's always somebody else a lot worse off than you are. Now, I know India has a lot of poverty, and I wish I could wave a magic wand and it would go away. But you can't. But if you go into Africa, many people that live in a mud hut and have a little piece of ground and have a wife and children are happier than the people that have $1 billion.
Right.
So you don't have to have money. You don't have to have money. People that don't have money say, you do need money. But I never had money as a young person.
I know.
And I do have money today.
Your father worked in a gold mine, and
We lived in a tiny little house. My first job, my first 3 years, I made £30 a month. I was just as happy then as I am now. So money is not the determining factor. But what you've got to do is have that strength of mind and say that there are people worse off than I am. And so what you realize as you progress in life, the most important word that you exist in any dictionary, any Quran, is love. If you can have love in your life, it's the power of the world. It's the power of God. If you can have love in your heart, wow,
Are these lessons from your parents?
I suppose indirectly, yes. I would say yes. From your parents, you learn to have love, and by experience in life, some of us are fortunate to travel a lot like I do, and you learn an awful lot. So, but love is the big word.
Lovely. On that wonderful thought, let's take a quick break right here on Tea Time. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be staying in conversation with the man himself, Gary Player. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're in conversation with Gary Player, of course, and let's continue our conversation. Gary, let's go over your vision for 2020 now. Who will be the next breed of golfers coming out in this world? Where will they play? Who will they play with? I mean, where is the next champion coming out of? Probably Asia?
You know, if you look at Korea,
Right.
the women in South Korea are the best golfers in the world.
Right.
I mean, who would have ever thought that possible?
Right.
Here in India, 1.2 million. In China, 1.3 million. Whatever the numbers are enormous.
Right.
If the young people of Asia can have businessmen and businesses to sponsor tournaments and to sponsor the individuals themselves,
Sure.
I think Asia.
And you do peg a lot of hope on Indians coming out and becoming the next generation of classy golfers that we are going to be seeing in the near future, isn't it?
Yes, you're producing very, very fine golfers in India now, and the more competition they have, the better they're going to get. And they're all so well-mannered. They stand out, which is a wonderful thing. Because
Right.
manners maketh a man, and the people from Asia still are very humble and got great manners, and so they're doing a wonderful job.
You know, let's talk about your breeding interest a little bit. You are a very passionate breeder yourself, isn't it? And let's
Not
go.
me, my horses.
Yes, you have bred 2,000 racehorses till today, including the English Derby entrant,
Yeah,
Broadway
what a
Flyer.
good memory you've got.
Yes.
Yes, now we've bred a lot of champions, and I have a passion for the thoroughbred racehorse.
Sure.
I love working on my farm, and again, farming creates a lot of jobs as well.
Right.
But there's something about a horse. They have a great saying, the outside of a horse
Right.
is good for the inside of a man.
Right.
So there's
right.
something about children, particularly young girls, that love horses. You see, I love animals, dogs, horses, all animals. I just love animals. So working and farming with thoroughbred racehorses, we also have cattle and
Right.
sheep and crops. I just love it.
Okay, and you almost, let's talk about your horse called Wanga, if I'm not
Wagga
mistaken. Wagga. You almost got killed by him, isn't
Oh,
it?
yes, he stood up and he went like that. But you know, there's a time for us to go and a time for us. I'm a great believer it's destined,
Okay.
what's going to happen in your life. The greatest that I can think of is the race driver now who just had this terrible accident, Schumacher.
Yes.
Here he goes at 200 miles an hour for 20 years and has accidents and is in all kinds of predicaments.
Sure.
And he goes skiing and the man might not make it.
Yes.
So you can't work out when it's your turn. You just got to wait your turn.
On that
It's
wonderful...
fascinating, isn't it?
Fascinating. On that
Yeah.
wonderful note, let's see you putt and finish your game, actually.
Feet a little wider apart for good balance. Grip
Right.
the club any way you like, as long as you feel comfortable. Now you just take that head and you follow through to the hole. Aim just about here, just to the left. Oh, well done. I'm pleased you're not my wife. You beat the hell out of me. I'll tell you one story, and this is a true story for our camera.
Sure.
I'm playing in Lexington, Kentucky, and I win the tournament 3 years in a row. This is a true story. So I'm very excited about my new Callaway driver. And I'm telling the press, there are about 50, 60 of them there, this is the shaft, the grip and everything. And I said, I love this club so much. And I wasn't thinking, I said, if I had to choose between this club and my wife, I'd miss her. Well, she hears that. So we go to the next tournament, and I walk in the room, and she's hiding in the cupboard. She took my driver, she put it on the bed, She put a negligee around it and said, "You've chosen your new mate.
Mate.
May you hit it long and straight. But baby, I won't be waiting at the gate." So now I never make a comparison between my club and my wife.
And your wife, never. Talking about club, actually, one last thing that we're going to leave all our viewers with, of course, is when you won the Grand Slam, you won it with a putter which cost $5, which you bought with Arnold Palmer.
Yes.
What was that story and how? So, which means equipment has little to do with your game of golf, isn't it, Gary?
A little thing called talent helps.
Absolutely.
But we were in Tokyo, and we were opening up a new golf course called Yomiuri.
Sure.
And the greens were new, and we went down to the Ginza, and I saw this putter that I thought was a very funny-looking putter, but
Sure.
I thought I'd like it, and I saw $5 on the tag. I
Right.
said to Arnold in front of this guy, "I really like this." Arnold said, "Wait a minute." So we walked to the bottom of the stool. We came back. There was a 6 in front of the 5.
Really?
So I paid $65. The best $65 I ever paid in my life. I won 100 tournaments with it. And I think it was the only Grand Slam putter that won all the 4 majors.
All right. On that note, lovely to have you on the show. I'm
Thank
blessed.
you.
I'm truly privileged once again. Thank you so much for
And I'm
making
very
time.
honoured
Thank
to
you
be
so
in
much.
India. Very, very honoured indeed. And
Thank you.
look forward to coming back many times. And I must say thank you to DLF for being responsible for bringing me here. It's been a wonderful education, and I'm a great ambassador for India as well as anywhere else.
Absolutely, and we're going to see you back again when the opening of the 18 holes of the Gary Player Design Golf Course at DLF really launches. I mean, so far only 9 holes have launched. All right, on that note, thanks once again. Thank you. That's a wrap from Gary Player and me, Chaiti Narula, on Tea Time. I will see you next week again from a very, very happy green. This is thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.